And welcome back to the Holistic Monitor. Here we are again. We have a nice guest today with Theta Healing. We're going to delve into what Theta is and how this can benefit you in your life. We have Karen Abrams. She's an author and owner of Think Theta. Well, let's bring her in and let's have a chat.
Hi there.
Hey, Karen, how are we doing?
Great. So great to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Think Theta. Like I said offline, I love the name. What should we be thinking when we hear the word theta? Because what for me comes to mind is the brain state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, right. So the theta brainwave state is right when we're tipping off into our dream state, right? So it's right when you feel like, I always say it's like right when you feel like you're getting bus head, where you're just like, you're not here and you're not there and you're not asleep, but you're not awake. You're just in that midsection. We know through all of the research in hypnotherapy that that's actually where you access your subconscious mind. So, and there's other research talking about how it enhances creativity, reduces stress, accesses your wisdom and your insight. So it's a real helpful brainwave to be in, right? Anytime you're in the zone, right, that's when you're in theta. And kids are always in theta. And that's why our childhoods are so intense for us, because everything people say and do and what we think about what they say and do implants very deeply right in, and it gets in there. So that's the theta brainwave. That's the power of the theta brainwave. And I use it in a modality called theta healing, which basically is a meditation that helps you access your theta brainwaves, get to your subconscious mind, and connect that with your inner wisdom. Some people might call that God. Some people might call that source or universe or inner wisdom, as I said. And that way we are able to figure out what are the belief systems that are holding you back in your life, right? I'm nothing, I'm worthless, nothing ever works out for me. Those kinds of things that really ride you into the rails and probably attract different kinds of relationships that you don't really appreciate and different kind of outcomes than you really want. And also you can access your trapped emotions. So we've got lots of those from this lifetime, right? You've got bitterness and anger, abandonment, trauma, those sorts of things. And when you're in that theta brainwave, your mind's actually talking to your body, which is fabulous. And it tells it, hey, that can go. You can let that go with your permission. It will leave, and it will be replaced with is unconditional love and understanding and compassion. And that's it. Because once you're changing your beliefs, your most damaging beliefs, to your most powerful and positive ones, and then you are transforming these old emotions into your most empowering ones, or uplifting ones, you're just going to feel better. Like the snowball starts, falling in your favor here. You start feeling better about yourself, and lighter, and making better decisions. Your boundaries get better because you feel worthy, right? You feel like no one's going to treat me in a bad way because I'm just walking in the room like I already know I'm worthy. And you're able to take those actions that you've been putting off, that you've been avoiding, that are going to help you move forward. Because really, and I think regardless of whether you do something conventional or unconventional, we know we need that energy. And we know we need those actions, because if you just are doing things and you've got the wrong mindset and the wrong attitude, it usually doesn't work, and it never works the way you want to in those cases. So this really just helps you just really get in alignment with who you are, and then so that you can live a more fulfilling life than you are right now.
Yeah. Would you say that it would be kind of akin to the practice self-hypnosis?
It's sort of like self hypnosis. It's definitely the same brain wave. I think the difference is that here you're marrying that divine wisdom with that access to your subconscious mind. And I think with hypnotherapy, it probably depends on who you're with, and although it's still, I think, permission based. So I haven't done a lot of hypnotherapy. I think I've had like one session. So I am not an expert on it, but I do know that we share the brainwaves, but then I think that's where it kind of gets a little bit different. And
Hmm.
this work also works on these different levels. So the core level, which is everything that happens in this lifetime, also our ancestors, at the ancestral level, because you're influenced by what your ancestors experienced and moved through, their traumas, their prejudices, their fears. All of those things still affect us. We know they affect us. And also there's the collective consciousness. And we also talk about past lives. And I guess that's sort of depending on whether you believe that or not. And then the soul level, which is just the deepest part of all of those. So this really gets deep in there and angles it. It comes in from a lot of different angles to help really make big sweeping changes for you.
Yeah, and I really, when I was doing a little research on theta brainwaves for an earlier episode, I fell upon that understanding that children until they're about the age of 7
Mm-hmm.
are pretty much existing in what we consider to be a almost dreamlike state.
Yeah.
Where there are monsters under the bed, there are super highs and super lows, and just really heavy emotional states that
Yeah.
are being played out and experienced, and all of those experiences are really being impressed upon us like wet clay, that
Yep.
most of us have to rest with that impression for the rest of our life. We're kind of just locked in to
Mhm.
what we've made as a decision for how to handle the world at the age of 5 or 6 or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and my son is going on 3,
Oh.
and it's for me, it's really important that I keep it as like a personal mantra that
Mhm.
he is, this is his first time going through this, and it's
Mhm.
he's really dreaming. He's really dreaming right now, and
Yeah.
it's becoming more real and real. Like when
Mhm.
we're waking up, we start to just kind of fade out, and it becomes less real and less real. The dream. As we wake up slowly in the morning, we're fully conscious. They're in a state where they don't quite do that. They wake up, and the dream was just as real as reality, and it clings. That there's scary things in the world, and there's great
Mhm.
happy highs and all that.
Mhm.
Um, so when handling that at a much older age, what would be for somebody that came to you? Let's say they had an insomnia,
Right.
and they said, is there anything that you can do to help me with my insomnia? What would be your first course of action? What could they expect when they come to you to look for some help based on something like that, like insomnia, standard issue?
Right. Standard issue. I like that. Standard
Hmm.
issue. Insomnia. Well, I think insomnia is such an interesting, side effect of whatever's going on, right? It's just a symptom of something that's going on in your head. And it could be a completely emotional thing. It could be a completely physical thing. And it's probably both, and you could be switching
Hmm.
out your bed and your pillows and putting out different music and doing all these sorts of things. So with that in mind, I what I would work with is basically what first of all, it's insomnia, but I would probably go back and ask when did it start and
Hmm.
find out what was going on in their lives when all of a sudden they stopped sleeping through the night. I've noticed a lot, and personally, when I've woken up in the middle of the night for an hour or two, that it usually has to do with either dwelling on something. So you're going over an old program over and over and over again. I'm never going to make it. I'm going to be poor the rest of my life. Whatever. I'm going to be single. It's going to be horrible. I'm going to die on the operating table. Those sorts of things, where we just go over and over and over again. Or it could be avoidance. That there's something we know we need to be doing, and our bodies are trying to get us to do it, and
Mm.
they can't get it. And obviously anxiety is another one, which is a very big one. And for me, the anxiety, and I get a lot of people, I have people come to me who feel like they're usually about middle-aged people around 40s to 70s, and they're usually people who feel like the world is passing them by, that other people are benefiting from their experience and their knowledge and their wisdom, but for some reason they're not getting where they want to, and they've tried therapy and yoga and meditate. They've been doing a lot of different kinds of things, and it just hasn't kind of fit together right for them, and their needs aren't getting met.
Right.
And it's usually because they're in that sandwich generation, which I have a feeling you're in right now, right? You're raising children
Mhm.
and you have aging parents. And so somebody's, there's some fire to put out somewhere. Somebody has needs that are greater than yours. And so it's very easy to think about, well, I can break this promise to myself. I'm not going to play my guitar today. I don't have time. I got to go to the hospital. My mom fell or something happened. Or I got to go to, got to go to school because my kid's sick. I got to go pick him up. And so the things that you wanted to do for yourself, you're like, well, I got to let them go. But you do that for years and years and years, and you start losing faith in yourself, because that's all these promises that you've been breaking all along. And so you stop losing faith in yourself, and you don't feel like you're going to change your station in life because you keep dropping yourself. And so when someone would come to me, I would think those are like the biggest issues that I see going on with people. And once and the way I work it is, we go through, and I think we were going to do a session today, if I'm correct, and if I'm not, that's okay. But we'll do the work together, and figure out what are the beliefs that are holding them back here. I never get my needs met. I'm unimportant. Everybody else's needs are above my own. Those are just easy. I'm unlovable. I'm unlikable. I have to earn my existence, right?
Yeah.
And we'll shift those kinds of beliefs, and then bring in and download energetically these feelings, and conjure these feelings inside of what it feels like to be loved and respected and valued. And because sometimes we haven't ever had those feelings, we might have grown up in a situation where we weren't valued. And for whatever reason, there might have been a really great reason. Everybody had to work because we didn't have any money. So you thought, well, I'm sitting here and nobody's here, so that must be my fault, right? Children, we are the beautiful narcissists, right? We really truly believe that the world is revolving around us. And however somebody is treating you, is you think that's because of me. I did something. So if it's good, you're like, I'm great. If it's bad, I must have done something wrong. There's something wrong with me that they're treating me this way. When we know, obviously, as adults, and when we get older, out of that theta state, we understand that it's something different that's going on. We just don't get it.
Right. Well, we understand, but we may be locked into the response, and that's kind
Right.
of where the issues come. Is that we learn how to operate in the world by the rights and the wrongs, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And maybe the parent wasn't very judicious with the way that they handled something, and the reaction is met, for the child, that would be met in a lot of different ways until the right one came about, based on the parent's reaction to the stimulus. So then the child learns, I have to cry every time this happens so that I get some form of security.
Absolutely.
Whatever it might be.
Absolutely.
Then that becomes something that happens later and later, until life maybe pounds that out a little bit and says, no, you don't cry, no more crying,
right.
or something like that. Then it gets twisted. And that's, I think, where a lot of people misinterpret or don't understand that one thing can be caused by something completely different.
Right.
It's just through time we have adjusted the way that this one reaction, when it's re-stimulated, reconfigures itself so that we can rehandle the way that we're handling the world around us and all that.
Yeah.
So when we get older, insomnia, it could be stemming from their 3-year-old self.
Right.
Very possible.
Hypervigilance too. Hypervigilance is another thing. So if you've had trauma, and I deal with a lot of people who've had a lot of different kinds of traumas in their life, and so really getting to that space. And what I love about this work, though, is that even though I can say, so there was something, I'm guessing there's something traumatic right now that happened to you when you were about 4 years old. And was there something, and you're like, well, it was 5 and I did this and this is what happened. But then it's really about the energy. It's not about reliving the experience. And
Right.
it's just that we hold on to that energy. And especially something like trauma, trauma really leaves a mark
Mm.
on you.
Yeah.
And we can't identify trauma necessarily, just like we can't necessarily identify what's abuse to somebody. I'm not saying you can't prove it. It's just that it's in somebody's head. So if I say pass the salt, but I say pass that salt, you're like, ooh, she was so mean, and you always thought I was mean, but you were 2 years old, so you were just scared of a big person.
Right.
That's still abuse because they feel like it's abuse. And the same thing with trauma. Some things that other people might not have, had any reaction to because they had more of a context, but you didn't, because like you said, you were in theta the whole time. So you were
Yeah.
completely open and raw and your heart was just out. And then something just came in and zapped you. But
Yeah.
your subconscious mind will hold on to that. And that energy is, there. And I believe that your subconscious says, well, let's just recreate this somewhere else. When I'm an adult, I'll figure it out. Because when I was 2, I couldn't say what I needed to do. But if I have a boyfriend like that, boy, am I ready for him, right? And what is it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, why am I forgetting his name right in this moment? But sorry, there's a wonderful neuro researcher who, for some reason, I'm having mommy brain right in this moment. Joe Dispenza. There he goes. There he goes.
Oh, yeah.
In
Okay.
there. And he talks about it. I like the way he says it because he talks about it for kind of the Western mind. He makes it all scientific, and so that your thoughts put the signal out into the field, and then your feelings bring the events to you, and they pull the events to you. And
Yeah. The
so if you
electromagnetic currents. Yeah.
electromagnetically, and you know that if you've had a lot of trauma in your life, that usually there's a repeat. I don't know anybody who hasn't repeated a version of the trauma that they experienced when they were children.
Right. Yeah. And that's where, that's where the healing comes in, if you want to call it that, the smoothing out of those traumatic bumps
Yep.
in time. So if somebody was to see you and they said they had insomnia, you'd be able to work with them via Zoom. Is that how you work with clients currently?
I work with them over Zoom, over the phone, and in person. So I have an office too. So
Okay.
it just kind of depends what people want to do, because some people like to just kick back on their couch and wear their pajamas, and they can do
Yeah.
that if they're on the phone.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and I largely have people on the phone, and then there are those people who come to me in person, which is really lovely too. I love Zoom. It's great. So
Yeah, it really works well because you can
yes,
kind of get in there, and so much of communication is expression.
yes,
And when you lack that in text or in phone calls or
right.
whatever, just so much is lost in translation of because so much of this is metered based on the person's reaction to what you're,
Mhm.
how you stimulate their situation or their current, for our system, what we do is we ask questions. We draw back the person and ask questions. So it's very helpful to be able to see how they're actually reacting to the question. Not necessary for your situation, your program. When you work with somebody with a traumatic event, for an example, you said they don't have to relive it.
Right.
So what is your means of discharging said trauma in the past?
Well, there's a process that I go through to go into that theta state. And when I'm doing that with somebody, I ask them, the first question is, can I come into your space? So when that happens, I close my eyes, because when you go into the theta state, it's like when you're just starting to go to sleep. So your eyes roll back in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So I close my eyes, I go into that process, and I ask you if it's okay to come into your space. When you say yes, basically that energy is coming over to you. And you might feel just like a slight relaxation in there. Some people feel more. You don't necessarily have to feel anything, because I've asked for the experience of feeling it in my body somewhere, just so I know that there's something going on. And then once we identify what the trauma is, as an example, then you can say, would you like to have your inner wisdom heal that right now? And in that moment, once again, with the theta brainwaves, your mind is talking to your body. And so
Mm-hmm.
you're holding that in certain organs everywhere. So they start going,
Mm-hmm.
opening up and getting ready to release.
Yeah.
And so when that happens, they you're releasing that, and there's also the intention to bring in that love and compassion and understanding, and that works well. And so that's kind of how you start, and you get in there, and then you move from there. Sorry, there's an alien cat who decided to come in out of nowhere, and
Ooh.
an extra guest. I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
interview her. I can work on the questions here. So
We're going to have to get deeper now because of that.
yeah, because why there's a cat in here. So yeah, so we would just go into that and see how you're feeling, and also we can energetically lift burdens, because traumas become burdens too.
Yeah.
And so that's really very important to check in on and see what's going on there. And then changing the beliefs that happened, that changed for you in those moments. Like once again, I'm powerless to change my life, maybe, or I'm a bad person, or I'm unlovable, I'm unlikable, those kinds of things. So all of those things happen so quickly within a trauma, and then they stick so deeply. So with this work, it's just so powerful, and it's just so gentle at the same time, because first of all, I can't do anything to anyone. I'm always going to ask you that question. Would you like to know what this feels like? Would you like to have this heal inside your body? And if it's not what you want and you say no, that's fine. We just move on from there. So it's
Right.
always in everybody else's control. And that's important,
Do you, so I run into a lot of practitioners that
Yeah.
are looking to expand their, methods and tools and whatnot. But what I find is that a lot of them are kind of out there trying to figure things out for themselves. Do you find it beneficial? Do you find it necessary? Maybe not beneficial. Do you find it necessary that somebody that's maybe seeking to heal
Yeah.
does so through a facilitator? And is your method something that you'd be able to teach to other people on their journey?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can learn how to do this work very easily. I mean, there's basic classes and advanced classes and teaching classes. So there's a great deal of classes that you can take to do this. And you basically have to start with like 2 or 3 classes to kind of feel like you just have that little bottom base to start in. And I always say, and this might be true in other modalities, that it's like a driver's ed class. You learn how to do these things, and you work through things. So you are changing while it's happening. And then after that, you got practice,
Right.
So,
Then you can kind of work the gears and figure things out. And
absolutely. Yeah. And the more practice you have, the better it goes. You've just been around a long time. So that always helps. So, having 20 plus years experience helps.
Yeah, definitely. Now you have a free gift for the listeners, for everybody out there that's listening.
Right. So that is called, it's a recorded theta meditation. I think it's about 5 or 7 minutes long. It's very short, where basically it's called Get Out of Your Own Way. And it's helping you heal the self-sabotage that you throw on yourself. So it's getting to some of the root causes of that and healing it. And it's wonderful, because if you listen to it right before you go to sleep at night, then that actually marinates in your subconscious for the whole night. You can do it any other time. It's just that I think you're going to get the most bang for your buck doing that. And self-sabotage seems to be one of the top things that's going on for the people definitely that I work with. And I know it's a very common thing for everybody to go through. So I love this. I think it's wonderful, and it's easy. And you can do it as many times as you want, because once things start to shift, and then you get those same perspectives and downloads to you, you're different. It's just like, if you lifted weights, right? When you're lifting certain weights, then you have muscles, then it's a different experience for you. And so it's just one of those things. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I think of it like reading a book, and then if you revisit that book again, if you read it again, you're gonna actually get something different out of it.
Yeah.
The storyline will be the same, but there's gonna be details that you gleaned over or just missed or whatever.
Yes.
And that reinforcement is very important too with a lot of, that work, especially when you're working with the subconscious and the theta, that you want to kind of build up an awareness, an acknowledgement. This becomes reality, and the more it becomes real here, the stronger it will work in the other layers of the brainwaves. So myself, I use that either before I fully get up in the morning, or as I'm going to sleep, to do a lot of my work, healing and travel and whatnot. That's for me the best time to access. A very easy way to access that energy is like I'm drifting off, and I can either fall asleep that way, so I don't have this insomnia issue because I can just, make the command and I go to sleep. Or before I fully get up, I have a great time to be able to sort through my day, my past, whatever I may be looking to do in the morning, when that theta is still attached to my waking conscious, before I fully shrugged it off.
Yeah, I know it's such a deep thing to go into, and it's so easy. I like that you're talking about like right when you're tipping off into sleep, and any gratitude in those moments really makes things richer. Any happiness, any joy, any appreciation, the things that are like the easiest to do in those moments. And when you do that, it makes a really big difference.
Well, it's the last thing of your day, and I understand it to be the reason that you're supposed to pray before you go to sleep for the Christian tradition.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's because that's your time that you're closest to making it a reality, manifesting that reality, whatever your wishes and dreams are, or whatever, the goodwill that you have for others. So allow the energies to, if appropriate, and if the other person is accepting, etc. But that's my understanding as to why you do that right before bed, because the day is clear and this is now time for that theta to enter. Everything's calm and still. And, great time to sort and do meditation. You can get a lot done at that little bit of time, because time is different.
Right.
And as we all know from dreams, that, you can do a lot in your dreams because time is different too.
I do that also in the morning, like when I'm waking up too, and set the intention of the day, or like, how do I want to feel? And I'll do that in the morning because it's really great. That same thing. It's just very natural state. You're in this really natural open state. And when you just go, oh, that's great.
It's perfect. And there's a lot of program that you can do prior to going to bed. And then of course your day, you can program your day prior to fully getting awake. And to me, that's a great way to enhance life, is to access part of life, part of your existence, which is these other worlds, these other wavelengths that have a complete existence unto their own. And then a lot of healing does happen in that point in time. And for me, I find that I have to ask for it. Of course, you have to ask. It's just like praying. You have to say something. You have to make your intention known. But that is a good time to begin any kind of repair or healing work, and just not the knowledge of like, when I go to sleep, I rest and I heal. So it's kind of like, scientifically, everybody agrees that it's a good thing to go to sleep off things, Well, that's great. So you have this, we'll put it in the description, and it's a audio that can be listened to prior to going to sleep. And it will build. So as you accumulate an awareness towards this energy and this healing, you keep listening, and it will keep assisting as you go. A reinforcement.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That's great. Now, if they wanted to get in touch with you directly, because a lot of people, do want that assistance. I feel like it's really important for people to find a guide in the world when they're looking to do things, and reach out for help when necessary, or when they feel like they're wondering. There's nothing wrong with reaching out. How can they get in touch with you? And we'll have it in the description, of course, too. But
you can go to my website, which is thinktheta.com. That's think as in think thoughts, and theta, THETA.com. And then you can just go to contact me, and that'll have my email, Karen at Think Theta, and also my phone number. So you can reach directly to me and get me in, and we can talk about it. Yeah. And no, it's a wonderful. I'm very, I'm very grateful that I have this work because it's so deep and it's so powerful and it's so gentle. And I just wanted to tell you a quick story about,
Yeah.
I had anxiety for 6 years, and I took a basic theta healing class after just watching my friend transform her life. And after 3 days of this class, which was, 3 days of really going deep and doing all these things and changing these beliefs and all of this, I came home and I felt really like I was breathing really deeply, and I was calm and I was grounded, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'd had anxiety for 6 years, and I'd been working with a therapist for a year and a half by this time.
Mm.
And in those, and usually when I had a moment of calm, my nervous system would then click back in, because the usual and the norm had become being nervous all day long. And so I had been working with him for a year and a half, and we had just made major progress. And at the same time, I was still waking up terrified, and my body trembled all day long. So there was
Mm.
something, it was like I was looking for that scoop, like,
Yeah.
what is that thing that we're almost there? We're so close. What is that thing that, and
Yeah.
when I had those 3 days of theta and I came out, I realized the anxiety was gone. And it was the first time that my body was out of fight or flight in 6 years.
Wow.
And that was the diving board that got me into this work. And it was amazing. I flipped out and I just started signing up for every class that I could take. And, over 20 years later, I'm doing this work. I'm still doing it. So I feel very grateful that I've been able to do that. And it's just helped me in every area. I have a great marriage. I have a wonderful family. I have a really wonderful business. And I'm just happy that this came into my life, and I have this way of figuring out when things go south or you just want them to go more north.
It's an easy control switch, right?
Yeah, it is. It's really wonderful.
Plane's going down, pull up,
Exactly.
Yeah. And of course, when somebody works with you, they can
Yeah,
also begin to acclimate to that energy and that understanding of what's happening. And if this is something they're into, you can guide them to the next step and help them
absolutely.
maybe branch into it and maybe begin their own path within this realm of theta healing.
I think it's also, I really believe it's about energy and action at the same time. I always give people good advice about what they can do in the world, instead of just say, go learn theta and you can figure this out, or just come to me. I want you to be able to leave with something that you can do,
Right.
and to improve your life, because that's the point, right? You've got to be able
Yeah.
to take what you learn, you've got to open up, you've got to learn what you were meant to learn from whatever happened to you and heal from it so that you can move forward. Then you got to take an action that's going to have a whole different effect on you now than it did before. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be really simple. It could be lean into what makes you happy, because you've forgotten how to do that. You've forgotten how to have fun. So pull out your guitar again, or read, or give yourself an hour from 10 to 11. Go take a really beautiful walk around, and start to get yourself oriented towards yourself, and improve that relationship with yourself. So it can be something as basic as that, but now it's going to have a different effect on you. Now you're going to be like, ooh, that's really good. And then you're going to feel that difference, that you did something for yourself, and that's going to bolster you and get you moving in the right direction.
Right. And I find that with a lot of people, they aren't drawn to be helpers or healers or
Right.
anything like that. They really are very open to the alternative world, quote unquote,
Hmm.
but they're not drawn to be facilitators of it. They need
Right.
the help. They want to get where they want to get to.
Right.
Their interest isn't in shining this back on somebody, on other people. They just need to get out of their current situation. I mean, it's very common, I think, that we
Yeah.
get locked into something, we don't know how to get out. And that's why I say it's really important, I think, to know where to look to find an answer,
Uh,
and to act on, find out how to act based on that answer, to get out of that trap or whatever cycle or whatever kind of loop the person's in,
Absolutely.
breaking
It's
free of
important.
that. And it's very important, I think, that that people understand that it's as simple as making a decision, and it's as hard as making a decision too. But sometimes if you hear it enough, then it becomes more like okay, I get it, universe. All right, I've heard it 3 times now. I need to do something about this. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and you don't know where somebody is going to come from and what their world is, what they're dealing with. And when you're working with clients, I imagine you're running into many different situations. Sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, it's like a very, very important moment that they're finding somewhere that they can get answers and find an
Yeah.
action to get themselves out. And it's very important to have people like yourself doing what you do. It isn't for everybody, but
Right.
it's very important that your work that is good for you, it's also good for others. And I commend you for that. I think it's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much. And I think the thing is really to create a safe space for someone. Whoever you go to, you got to trust them, and you've got to create a safe space for people to work in. And my thing also is that if you're dealing with deep-seated issues or things, the things and patterns that have been coming up over and over again, and that it's something deep and it's something subconscious, and you need, whatever you're doing, you need to make sure that you're doing something that accesses your subconscious, because without that, you're just painting a dirty wall, and
Yeah,
it's going to keep coming back.
right.
So, and that's what I love about this work is we're really getting in there, and then we're rewriting the script, and in a way that really benefits you and moves you forward. And to take that step is a wonderful one to take, just into more ease, into more grace, into more good fortune. It's all good.
Yeah, there it is. Very good. Well, Karen, thank you so much for joining me today and discussing theta healing and think theta. I think
Thank
that's
you so
awesome.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor. It's fun to talk to you. Thank you.
Yep. And until next time, take care.
Thank you. Will do.